Federal budget crunch this Monday night. What it'll take to get the Liberals' fiscal blueprint passed to avoid an election.
I don't think Canadians want an election.
Also, how a boost in defense spending could influence U.S. trade talks and the high stakes for young Canadians. Back to work, backlash.
Our teachers are being legislated back to work. It is completely unfair.
Amplifying anger against the Alberta government, what protesters are demanding. Confrontation caught on camera. What caused a Toronto police cruiser to run over a suspect? Plus, are the Jays a one-hit wonder?
I said I want to be here from the beginning.
Questions abound about who will be back next year.
Global National with Donna Friesen. Reporting tonight, Jeff Semple.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. Tomorrow is a big day in the nation's capital. Prime Minister Mark Carney's government will unveil its first federal budget. The plan is focused on boosting investment in Canada to shield the economy from U.S. tariffs. But to help pay for that transition, the budget is expected to include both steep deficits and spending cuts. Carney has warned it will require sacrifices, including austerity measures and cuts to the public service. As David Akin reports, it remains unclear if the budget will pass through Parliament or send this country to an election.
François-Philippe Champagne applies a new twist to an old tradition for Canadian finance ministers. Not only is he buying a new pair of shoes before tabling his first budget, he's helping make some new shoes.
This is a family-owned business where I am, Boulet Boots. They've been in business since 1933.
With this photo op, Champagne is trying to preview a main theme of his first budget: supporting Canadian businesses and Canadian workers.
The budget tomorrow is all about, it's an investment budget. It's a generational shift. This is going to be a great moment for the nation.
But will Champagne get the support to pass his budget, win a confidence vote, and avoid an early election?
Je pense qu'il y en a pour tous les partis politiques dans ce budget-là.
I think there is something for all political parties in this budget, Champagne says. But the Conservatives almost certainly will reject any budget that significantly increases the deficit. And the Bloc Québécois has made 6 non-negotiable demands of Champagne, which are non-starters for the Liberals. Which means the most likely source of support for those Liberals are the New Democrats.
If it's a budget that's good for working people, we'll support it. If it's not, we won't. So all options are on the table. Until we read the budget, we really can't see.
The Liberals need just 4 opposition MPs to vote with them, or at the very least abstain. The 7 NDP MPs would be more than enough to swing the vote either way.
I don't think Canadians want an election, that's for sure. And my own view is I don't think Canada needs an election right now.
Some MPs today told us they had spent the weekend getting their election signs ready. That might be a bit premature. The final confidence votes on the budget are unlikely to be held before the end of November. But if the government does fall then, that would set up a Christmas-time election. Jeff.
All right, David Akin in Ottawa. Thanks, David. And the budget is expected to include significant spending on defense. The federal government has pledged to reach its NATO funding targets, something that has never happened since the benchmark was first set over a decade ago. Jillian Piper reports on what the defense spending spree could mean for trade talks with the U.S.
It's set to be the biggest boost to Canada's defense spending since Ottawa rearmed in the 50s to join the Korean War.
Hundreds of billions of dollars in the coming few years, so this is huge.
The federal budget on Tuesday is expected to outline a plan to jump from the current defense spending of 2% of GDP to the new NATO target of 5% by 2035, costing about $150 billion per year, the single largest program spend in the entire budget.
It's the responsible thing to do because we're joining our NATO allies in doing so.
This is very important.
Retired Vice Admiral Mark Norman says Canada needs just about everything from revamped defense infrastructure to new equipment. But more than any one item, he wants Ottawa to be strategic with these funds.
What I really want to see is a significant shift in how the government plans to move the money faster, and more importantly, how it plans to explicitly preference Canadian suppliers.
So far, the Liberals have not said exactly how the new funds will be spent.
Haven't really seen much of a vision from the government about not just how much they're looking to spend, but specifically where they want those dollars to go.
The boost comes as Ottawa is still locked in a trade war with U.S. President Donald Trump, who has repeatedly expressed frustration with Canada's defense spending.
Canada said, why should we pay when the United States will protect us free?
Removing that irritant could be a strategic decision for trade negotiations.
Underspending relative to the amount we had promised all of our closest allies was actually creating significant negative impacts for Canada.
Despite the need to bolster Canada's defense, it could be a difficult pitch for Prime Minister Mark Carney to make right now, Jeff, as economists predict it will leave less room in the budget to help reduce the cost of living, something so many Canadians are struggling with right now.
Jillian Piper in Ottawa. Thanks, Jillian. Among those desperately looking for help from the budget are young Canadians. That demographic has been hit hard by a lethal combination of high unemployment, soaring housing prices, and inflation. Heidi Petracek reports on their hopes for the budget and the future.
Both 19 years old, Dakota Blackwood and Silas Denninger are trying to plan their futures. Silas moving to BC to find work as a plumber, while Dakota stays in Halifax to finish university.
It's been a struggle, financially and everything, not having parents around to support me and stuff.
What they'd like to see in the budget, anything to help make ends meet.
It's really just hard enough for us, especially since COVID. I mean, food security is not good. I mean, finding a job is even harder.
Youth and lower income households spend a greater share of their income on housing and the necessities of life. And so anything that targets inflation of food and rent, those are very critical for youth.
The labor market has remained particularly tough for 15 to 24-year-olds. Youth unemployment reached almost 15% in September, the highest it's been in 15 years, not counting the first year of the pandemic.
Statistics Canada has found post-secondary graduates, whether they have a degree or a diploma, have struggled to make gains in employment ever since the pandemic in 2020.
And that's what worries Ben Kloss the most.
The youth that I see every day are facing this enormous barrier.
Well, he's seen the part-time job market shrink for the high school students he coaches at this employment centre. He says what Ottawa really needs to do is focus on the full-time jobs of the future.
And just some clarity around, if my job gets taken by AI or a robot, what happens to me? What happens to that job? It feels like if it's not beholden with the private sector to figure that out, it's government.
There's a strong risk in something like that you're taking out that first rung on the career ladder.
All adding up to an uncertain path forward for this demographic, hoping Ottawa will help plot the course. Heidi Petracek, Global News, Halifax.
The federal government is launching an official dispute proceeding against Stellantis after the automaker announced plans to move production of its Jeep Compass from Ontario to Illinois.
Stellantis made a commitment, a promise, to invest in that plant, to invest in Canadian workers. And our government expects them to honor that promise, full stop.
Industry Minister Mélanie Joly says she notified Stellantis that the government will seek reimbursement of around $100 million taxpayer dollars provided to the company to retool its Ontario plants, unless the automaker agrees to resume production here in Canada. Ontario Premier Doug Ford is vowing today that he will never apologize to U.S. President Donald Trump over the province's anti-tariff television ad.
I'll never apologize to President Trump, and I'm going to continue fighting for the people of Ontario and the people of Canada.
The ad, which featured video of late U.S. President Ronald Reagan rallying against tariffs almost 40 years ago, aired in major American television markets, including during the World Series. That ad went viral after Trump lashed out against it in several online posts and then terminated trade talks with Canada. The BC government had also planned to launch a similar series of anti-tariff ads in the U.S., but Premier David Eby now says those plans are on hold and that any campaign will only be done in partnership with the federal government. His remarks came following an emergency summit with federal cabinet ministers to discuss the province's lumber industry, which has been hit hard by U.S. tariffs.
This is a critical industry to the fabric of the whole country. We see British Columbia, of course, as a dominant player in Canada in this industry.
I feel much more confident
the federal government understands the severity of the crisis facing the sector.
Dominic LeBlanc, the minister responsible for Canada-U.S. trade, says more federal support is coming for workers and companies hit by those tariffs. He also says the sector will remain a prominent part of trade talks with the White House should they resume. U.S. tariffs on Canadian softwood have climbed to 45%. Toronto police are under scrutiny after a video posted online appears to show a police vehicle running over a suspect, and a warning this footage may be upsetting. The Toronto Police Service says its officers were attempting to disarm a suspect who was wielding knives, and the vehicle inadvertently moved forward, rolling over both the suspect and an officer. The two were treated by paramedics, and incredibly, neither sustained serious injuries. Police say they're now reviewing the incident. The Alberta government is facing backlash over its handling of last month's teacher strike. It invoked the notwithstanding clause to order 51,000 teachers back to school, while also stripping them of their right to strike again until 2028. As Heather Yourex-West explains, a campaign has now been launched to recall more than a dozen MLAs who supported that bill.
Not a big fan of the government. A small but enthusiastic crowd of post-secondary students Monday, the latest in a string of recent protests against the Alberta government.
Teachers are legally not allowed to strike until August 31st, 2028. So since they cannot fight for themselves, we are fighting for them.
1 week since the province invoked the notwithstanding clause to impose a 4-year contract on teachers and end a 3.5-week-long strike, the signs of frustration are clear. Whether it's the Dump Danny graffiti overlooking Calgary's Deerfoot Trail, or the angry protesters who showed up at a weekend open house of a United Conservative Party MLA.
We have 72 canvassers that have signed up so far.
Signatures are also now being collected for a petition to recall Alberta's education minister. Under legislation passed by Danielle Smith's own government, elected MLAs could be recalled if 40% of the riding's electorate sign on.
We need 16,006 verified signatures. And so, yeah, we've got our work ahead of us.
But the team in the education minister's riding is not alone. A website called Operation Total Recall is now tracking efforts to launch recall petitions for more than 20 other UCP MLAs. Do you think they could be successful?
What does success mean? Does success mean actually recalling the MLA and having a by-election? Or is it damaging the party?
It is an important instrument of democracy, and elected officials have to always be held accountable to their voters. And I think as well it should be used for the right purposes.
So far, Danielle Smith has not been around to address the growing backlash. She left on a Middle East trade mission last Monday, just as the back to work legislation was being passed. She is scheduled to return from that trip on Wednesday. Jeff?
Heather Yourex-West in Calgary. Thanks, Heather. Sudan's deepening crisis coming up. The horrors women are facing and the warning that history is repeating itself in Darfur. "400,000 people are starving in Sudan, according to an international monitoring group, as famine hits parts of the country that's gripped by civil war. The head of the Red Cross says history is repeating itself in Darfur, with reports of mass killings in the same region where hundreds of thousands were killed 2 decades ago. Redmond Shannon reports, and a warning that some of the details here are disturbing.
An estimated 60,000 people have made the treacherous journey out of El Fasher after it was captured by the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, last month. On Monday, 6 of those people pleaded for international help in an online media briefing. A woman named Amira said many of the women who fled were subjected to mass rapes in front of others. She said families who were kidnapped on the route were forced to hand over girls as payment for freedom.
Allahu Akbar wallahi.
Others who fled recounted seeing men being executed. The RSF claims it is investigating and says it has arrested this fighter for alleged summary executions. A war widow named Kamisa recounted why she fled El Fasher. "I decided if I die, I die. This is unbearable for me and my children," she said. On the road outside of the city, which is now officially in a state of famine, she and others said everyone was robbed of all of their belongings.
I mean, it's history repeating.
The head of the International Committee of the Red Cross says these events reflect what happened 2 decades ago, when 200,000 people died in what was widely accepted to be a genocide. A UN peacekeeping force, including Canadian troops, then kept the peace until it was disbanded in 2020.
It becomes worse every time a place is taken over by the other party. And there's just no restraint in what these weapon bearers do.
The fate of the estimated 150,000 people still trapped in al-Fasher is unknown. It's feared thousands could be dead. The alleged main backer of the RSF is the United Arab Emirates, with Saudi Arabia and Egypt supporting the opposing armed forces. All 3 countries are in talks with US diplomats over a possible truce. Redmond Shannon Global News, London.
Still ahead, how Israel and Hamas are making progress on their ceasefire deal despite another deadly attack. The fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hamas is again under strain after Israeli forces killed another 3 Palestinians in Gaza. Israel's military claims they were in a restricted area and posed an immediate threat. On Sunday, Hamas returned the bodies of 3 more Israeli hostages, while Israel returned the remains of 45 Palestinians. Both sides have repeatedly accused the other of violating the ceasefire, which came into effect on October the 10th. And rescuers are searching for survivors in northern Afghanistan, where at least 20 people are dead and hundreds more injured after a 6.3 magnitude earthquake. It hit early this morning in a city famous for its shrines and historic sites. The number of dead is expected to rise as rescue teams reach the worst hit areas. And in Nepal, 7 climbers have been killed after being swept up by an avalanche. It happened this morning northeast of Kathmandu. The team of 15 climbers was hit near the base camp of a remote Himalayan mountain. Search efforts have been hindered by weather near the 5,600-meter peak. The nationalities of the climbers have not been confirmed, but there are reports a Canadian was among those on the expedition. Well, this is the moment a medieval tower in Rome suddenly collapsed. The tower, located near Italy's famed Colosseum, was undergoing a restoration when it partially gave way. A worker trapped for hours beneath the rubble was eventually rescued. Another remains in hospital in critical condition. Tight-knit team. Up next, is it the end or just the beginning for the Toronto Blue Jays after that heartbreaking World Series loss? Welcome back. The Toronto Blue Jays captured the hearts of millions of Canadians, both for their play and their personalities. But after that agonizing end to the World Series, fans are now wondering if next season will provide a sequel. Eric Sorensen reports on whether the team's historic run will prove to be a one-hit wonder.
There's the World Series trophy. Unfortunately, it and today's parade are in Los Angeles. What could have been? Back in Toronto, the focus already turning to the future. What's next for this team and its players?
This is the best group of guys that I've been part of.
To a man, Blue Jays players said there's never been a closer team.
I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to be here and to be a part of such an awesome group of guys.
Yeah. But for free agent Chris Bassett, in the emotions, there's something unspoken, that he and others may not be back.
I hope I have another chance with this group.
The biggest question mark is Bo Bichette. For years, a cornerstone of this franchise along with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Bichette will receive big offers in free agency. Does he want to come back here?
I've said I want to be here from the beginning.
He's not saying much yet.
Muchas gracias por todo el apoyo que nos den este año y
Guerrero Jr. says he'd like to finish his career with Bichette, but that he has to get his money.
Just the prospect of losing Bichette is something that Blue Jays fans don't even want to think about at this point. But free agency is free agency. He's earned his right to pursue the best opportunity for himself going forward.
Rogers, which owns the Jays and the broadcast rights, should have money to spend. The series drew record audiences. But even the Fox broadcast in the U.S. peaked at over $30 million. The Dodgers are a big draw, but these Blue Jays also captivated a North American audience.
The fact that this team resonated with American viewers is a change. It's a team that was really engaging with its own superstars and I think really resonated with fans of baseball that captured American viewers as well as Canadian viewers.
After an historic World Series, the Blue Jays can count on more fans than ever following the team, its players, and who'll be back in 2026. Eric Sorensen, Global News, Toronto.
That is Global National for this Monday night. I'm Jeff Semple, and tonight we'd like to acknowledge an honor received by our anchor and executive editor of Global National, Donna Friesen. Over the weekend, the Radio Television Digital News Association, or RTDNA, presented Donna with a Lifetime Achievement Award.
It is a fragile truce. They say the Chechen captors could soon start killing hostages.
Is there evidence that this base was used by al-Qaeda?
I'm Donna Friesen in Petra, Jordan. The threat of war.
Now, don't worry, Donna's not going anywhere, but she has gone all over the world in her 40-year career as a journalist, and she reflected on those experiences while accepting the award.
The most profound thing I learned working overseas for years in a number of countries is very simple. It's that people are just people. It doesn't matter what language they speak or what religion they are or what government is in charge in their country. They want what we want. They want their kids to be healthy. They want their kids to go to school. They want to be safe. They want to work. And they want to thrive in a peaceful world. So you can make distant events seem close and relevant. And I think that's even more important now in this fractured world we're living in.
Well said, as always. Congratulations to Donna and to her son, Lucas, who is there by her side. And Donna will be back with you tomorrow from Ottawa for the federal budget. Have a great night.